special guest speaker with us today, Lee Dunstan, who comes to us from the South Pacific Division. And in the sort of introduction to the mission story this morning, I just thought I would ask him a few questions so we can find out a little bit more about him. Nothing too personal, Lee, you know. We just like to know your check account number and things like that.
I'd like you to know it too. You might want to deposit something there.
Okay, so the first question that I wanted to ask you was, I know that you come to us from the South Pacific Division. What is your role in the South Pacific Division?
Okay, I have a couple of roles. Originally I was editor of Signs of the Times magazine, and so I trust that you all subscribe to Signs magazine, if not just for yourself, for others as well. This is, of course, not for you. This is to share. So hopefully you get something from it, but I would ask you to remember that. And, you know, just taking the opportunity for a little bit of product placement here, Mark. Out in the foyer, I bought some of these newsletters up, and I'd like you to take one of those, whether you're a subscriber or not. If you're a subscriber or a donor especially, this will tell you a little bit about what Signs is doing. So I won't take any more time to explain that. It's all in the brochure. Yes. So that's one job. Then I was caring for Christian services for the blind, and you'll hear a lot more about that in a few more minutes. I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. I was also editor of Diggings magazine, and some of you will have been receiving that and seen it around, but unfortunately we took it on when it was in pretty bad shape. We gave it our best shot at building subscriptions. We've managed to do that to a certain extent, but not sufficiently to keep it going, and unfortunately this month's issue is the last issue that we'll be publishing, so that's unfortunate. We had about 1,400 subscribers only. It wasn't enough to make it viable, but those subscribers, I need to say this, were very loyal subscribers. A lot of them are not Adventists, not connected with the church at all. And so I view it this way, that here's a church of maybe, you take the Adventists out, half of them, here's a church of maybe 500 people that we're talking to about the Bible and the truths, prophecy, some of those things that you read there, the historicity of the Bible, its accuracy, all of those sorts of things. We were preaching to them in a kind of covert way each month, and so it's really sad to see that fall. That's the extent of my roles. Yeah.
Thanks, Lee. So the next question then is, we're all familiar with Signs of the Times magazine. And,
yeah.
If Diggings is about to cease publication, you know, there's not too much point in asking about that, but I am interested in Christian services for the blind and hearing impaired. So obviously from their name, they provide some sort of services for people who are blind or have a hearing impairment.
Yes. But
could you just elaborate exactly what Christian services for the blind and hearing impaired does?
Well, I'll be doing this in this presentation, but basically I inherited it because I'm in the media centre. I work in the media centre, and we've put audio books. We produce a lot of audio books. They were on tapes at one point, and we've transferred all of those into a digital format. You'll see this, how it works in the presentation coming. But that's been a huge job, to transfer those little cassette audio tapes into digital. And so we run this library, but more of that later. And the hearing impaired side, more of that later too.
Okay, thanks. And how is Christian services for the blind and hearing impaired funded?
Okay, it's funded by a biannual offering. So in other words, every second year it gets an offering which it shares with youth or some other part of the church. And that and bequests and donations. It has tax deductibility, so if you wanted to make a donation, or if you wanted to make a donation, it's tax deductible, or if you wanted to make a bequest or leave something in your will to it in trust, then it does that too. And you'll see some of the things that we would do with your money when we look at the presentation.
Okay, so an offering once every 2 years isn't very frequent, is it?
No, basically an offering every 2 years, all it does would be pay my wage. I'm half-time paid by Christian Services, So, you know, when you put it all together with all of the obligations that you have in payroll, it basically just funds me, and that's it, and doesn't leave much money to do anything with, and that's why we need bequests and donations. And again, I'll tell you about what's happening, but we will be pushing the division to give us an annual offering, which would then allow us to do something more than we're doing at the moment anyway.
Okay, thanks for that, Lee. I'll pass the mic over to you so you can give us the mission story. Thank you.
Okay, Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired. It works out of the Media Centre down in Sydney. It's a part of that building down there, and physically and structurally. So, and that's me, and I'm manager for that and have been for about 2 years. Okay. Some of this happens automatically and some doesn't. You just have to apologise. Okay. What we do, we care for the blind. We have, as I said, we have the library, the audio library. That contains around about 1,000 books. It was some thousands of hours of recordings in all, which have been digitised. We also have a service for the deaf, and we haven't done very much for the deaf in the past, but that is being rectified to a large extent thanks to this very church, and you'll see yourself featured in here as we go along, and the membership that is here who've been involved. We also, when we're talking about those with sight disabilities, it's not just sight, it's anyone who can't read. You may have had a stroke, for example, and can't hold a book. Okay, if that's you, we can help you. And we have currently a membership in Christian Services for Blind, and you have to become a member, and you have to have a medical condition that allows you to access its services. So most of our people are in our aged care homes, as you would imagine, but not all. For many years we've done this, and we've ignored the needs of many other people groups. And anyway, we'll get to that. I'm just a bit out of sync between my notes and my slides here, sorry. Okay, yes, with these with the audio library, we transfer the audio cassettes into a digital version of that, like a CD type of thing, but on your computer. We send it down to Vision Australia. Vision Australia is the peak body for the blind in this country. And they have a huge library of some 30,000 books down there that they distribute. Now, it's all sorts of books, and a lot of it you wouldn't want to read yourself. But they also have newspapers and magazines that they put on there. And so when somebody wants to get a copy of an audio book, let's say it's Desire of Ages, they go to the library down there at Vision Australia, like you can do it on your computer or you can just simply phone up. And when that request goes through, they just pull that Desire of Ages from their digital file and they burn it onto a CD, which they post out to a person. It's a very special sort of CD. It goes into a very special sort of a player called a Daisy player there, which will hold about, well, it will remember where you're up to in 999 books. And so they're an amazing machine, and they have great big controls, as you can see up there in the picture. Makes it easy for a person with sight impairment to be able to find their way around a book. Into this ministry, we have Dr. Percy Harold, who many of you will know. He runs the camp radio stations. And Dr. Percy, he puts onto CD every month the Sabbath school lessons for that month. And people receive those, our members receive those. We also have been doing, until recently, it hasn't happened for a few months, we've been putting record and signs on there, but we lost our audio technician at AMN a few months ago, and so this is just having a bit of a pause, but we will get that up and running again. But we post these out to people along with an audio newsletter monthly. We also have some Braille resources, but we don't have many, and you'll understand this is a Braille Bible in there. Okay, now you see what it says on the side of the box? Can you read that? It says Braille KJV, and then can you see what it says underneath? 3 boxes. So I'm just holding one of those 3 boxes. That's what a Braille Bible looks like. But these days, of course, you get Braille readers and all sorts of things, and so a person can have the KJV in their phone. They can connect that to a Braille reader, and they'll just hold their fingers over a Braille tactile pad, and the little buttons just pop up, and and it's just like reading it on for them, like reading it on a computer screen. So printed Braille is not quite so fashionable these days and not quite so necessary. And if we had a request for a Braille Bible, just imagine trying to send that out to them. So we don't do very much in that at all. But we do have large print resources, and just yesterday we posted off some copies of Steps to Christ and Thoughts from the Mount of Blessing to someone who just had trouble reading ordinary print. And so we have what you're seeing there is Bible study series, the Discover series in large print. And if you know somebody who can use this service, please let me know. And out on the table out the back, you'll see some little flyers there, and also these. You can just fill in a person's name, post it off to us, and we'll take it over from there. Okay, what else have we got here? Okay, well that's can anybody tell me what's happening there? Okay, what are they saying?
Thank you.
Yes, they're saying thank you in Auslan. Okay. So, what are we doing for the deaf? Okay. Hang on, I think I've got the wrong picture there. I don't know where that one came in from. We're live streaming weekly, I think. Actually, this is the one we want. Sorry about that, folk. You might recognise some people in that picture there. I'm sure you do. And I would like to say thank you to this church for what it does for the deaf and its support that it gives us corporately to this group. I know how it's worked. I've worked with Mark now for quite a long time. We met at camp. I never had any idea what this church was doing until I met Mark and his family. And you'll see a little bit more of what's happening there in a moment. What else do we do for the deaf? Well, we have paid for closed captioning on the Beyond series. I'm not sure if all of you know that. What you would buy in your ABC wouldn't have closed captioning on it, but if you need it, just ask me, and I have copies of that I can give you if you've got an outreach to the deaf. Actually, I think I did send this church some copies, didn't I? Yeah, I gave the church some copies of that for outreach. So we paid for that, and it was around about $15,000 to get those 7 or 18 episodes of that, closed captions. You'll recognise some people in here too. The last year's deaf camp at the Natural Arch down in Mawillumbah, that was something done by this church. And it was a grassroots initiative from here, which is the way we want this whole thing to function, as a grassroots level. As I said, at the division level, we don't have that much money to make things happen. It has to happen at the conference and local church level. And you people are the leaders here. You are right at the forefront, doing what you do for the deaf. Just last week, though, for the first time, Lloyd Grolleman's New Hope Church in Western Sydney had a signer go along there, and hopefully it's happening again today, and hopefully for every week into the future. And that is live streamed to YouTube. And so, our church doesn't have many deaf people attending, because why would they come? They don't hear, they don't know what's going on, and we don't provide signers and we don't provide captioning for them. And this is something that's about to change, and you people are the leaders in this. I know once a month that you do have a service that is signed for the blind, and happens to be this week, less than coincidentally. But we want this to happen in every single conference in this division. And so it's happening here, it's happening at New Hope, and once we've got those models functioning, we want to spread this right around the conference. Deaf people tend to go to church on Sundays because there are signed churches on Sundays, and we want them to worship on the Lord's Sabbath day, if we possibly can. What else have we got here? Oh yes, Dr. Larry Evans was our guest. He was from the General Conference, and his presence was signalling what they thought about this ministry, that they were prepared to send him out here at their expense for him to come and be with us and worship with us and lead out in that program. And so he was welcome. This was one of our less welcome guests. Can you see what we're holding there? This was the interlude between Sabbath school and church, I think, Mark.
You're talking about the snake and not yourself, eh?
Actually, I should have pointed that out. Thanks, Mark. Yes, we had this big python come and visit us. Okay, what else is happening here? Okay, yeah, this was just a bit of movie from the camp itself. You'll see what it was that you helped to sponsor down there at Natural Arch last year. Larry was our presenter, and he was quite inspiring, and he also gave us the vision and also what is happening around the world. It's a new movement. It's growing from just the blind and just the deaf into something, well, we've called it special needs, but it's not really. I mean, if you're deaf, you don't have a special need. Okay, we understand that, but we're struggling to come up with a name that is all-encompassing for these more marginalised groups, people who are not welcomed into our church because we don't know how to welcome them, people who we can't communicate with because they're blind or deaf. But it's also a ministry that we hope is a little bit more encompassing, and you'll see that in a moment. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I do need to just say this coming October, and unfortunately they printed the version of the advertisement in last week's record that didn't have the dates in it. Okay, so I've asked them, can you please run it for me again, free of charge, because she put the wrong ad in there. But folks, this is your church at work, and again I congratulate you and affirm you in that for what you are doing. This is not me, this ad and this camp is you and what you are doing. So thank you very much for that. And Mark and I are working quite closely. But because Mark is working with me, we can give you a display ad in record, you see, something that you wouldn't be otherwise eligible for. And hopefully we get a lot of contacts that come in and want to attend our Jindabyne camp coming October. And if you know somebody who could be interested, you need to let them know. Okay, where are we up to here? Okay, another thing we're doing, the Amara project. This again is for the deaf. And that's my secretary there, and she's closed captioning, working on files that are over in Washington DC or somewhere over there, and she's remotely closed captioning meetings, GC meetings, I think she was doing, and also video. And there's going to be a Hope Deaf channel, and some of the stuff that you guys are producing hopefully will end up on Hope Deaf channel. But they want to do hundreds and hundreds of hours of video productions with closed captioning in multiple languages. So it won't just be English, but it'll be Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, and a few others. We're getting through the English, but we're not getting through the Spanish and the Portuguese and those other languages. And so they basically said, well, we're not going to wait. We're going to launch Hope Deaf channel, even if it only has the English and just limited closed captioning for the others. It won't be a broadcast channel, it will be an internet channel only, so you just go online to access that. Okay, another thing that we're doing, and I'm being a bit long-winded here, is we're expanding this ministry from the blind and the deaf into those who have special needs for the disabled and their families, not just the children themselves, and particularly those children of the aged. And you'll recognise Pastor Bob Possingham there with Larry, and we're out at Victoria Point out here where they want to build a facility for the adult children, a residential facility for the adult children of people who are right next door in the aged care facility. And that's sort of the idea. What's an aged parent do with their 40, 50-year-old child who is disabled? And so it's a really stressful time for these people, what to do with their children. And Pastor Bob has a child like this, Pastor Laurie Evans, and these people have been the movers of this. Again, a grassroots sort of thing that's happening here. It's not something that I'm doing, it's happening here, but we want to take that model and we want to show it to other conferences around the place. So I trust that they can get that up. So here again, thank you from me. But not quite finished. I should finish enough time, but I was asked to present the mission news. But one of the things that this quarter's offering is going to, it's going to this division, this very division, isn't it? And so one of those things is to help improve the Hope Channel, and I'm connected with that intimately at AMN. We want to improve the Hope Channel service, particularly in New Zealand, where they have programming there. And it would be a great joy of mine if to those videos that they produce that we could add closed captioning, for example. And that's my role, to create a church that has inclusivity and accessibility, whether you are sitting in a pew here or whether you're watching it on a video, on a CD, DVD at least, or whether you're watching it on live to air, free to air television. You should be able to access our message. And so that's what I'll be driving. And when you give your offering, 13th Sabbath offering this quarter, you'll be helping AMN, you'll be helping Hope Channel in New Zealand to produce video material that is accessible, well, and most accessible, I guess, to the deaf in particular. So there's a few insights into what it is that we're doing, where we're expanding to with this general special needs ministry, which is the deaf, the blind, the physically and mentally disabled, and also the orphans. And you will have seen each of those things represented there to a greater or lesser degree. So thank you for what you do give in your week-by-week offerings, which go to support our local SPD missions in the island, but then the 13th Sabbath offering, which will specifically go to helping Hope Channel in New Zealand to provide content with closed captioning for that market over there. Thank you, Mark.